Welcome! Let me show you something. This is a melodic techno or progressive house drop that I built in about 15 minutes. And in this video, I show you how you do the same in your own projects. Hey, I'm Kassad the Cruise, and if you're stuck in 8-bar loops all the time, this one is for you. I want to give you a simple system that you can copy to instantly create a melodic techno drop. In about 15 minutes of actual build time, we're going to create a drop from scratch. I keep it completely realistic. You can find the project files and stems linked below, so you can rip this apart, swap the sounds, or rebuild it in your own DAW. Alright, let's jump in. Alright, so let's start with the lead idea. Because for melodic techno, the drop is basically built around one strong hook. So just pick the tone, pick the scale that you like. Always remember minor keys are more sad and darker in a way, so they actually suit melodic techno more most of the time, and major keys are mostly considered happier. So in this example, I'm an F sharp minor, but instead of using the full 7th note scale, I'm keeping it really simple. And that's actually how I find my melodies. It's really no magic. I'm only using 6 of the 7 notes of the scale. 3 of them are what I call my home notes. And in every scale, no matter which one you're using, always try to identify your 3 home notes. It can be every note in the scale, but most of the time the root note, in my case, is F sharp. Then the 3rd note in the scale, here it's A, and the 7th, in this case it's the E, make really good sense to use as your home notes. Another one that's also very valid always is the 5th. In this case, C sharp. Those are the tones that you would normally use in a chord. So that's why they make so much sense to use as your home notes. But back to the examples. So I'm using F sharp, A and E. These are the notes I keep coming back to. They make the melody feel stable and recognizable. And on top of that, I add 3 color notes from the same scale. I'm also using a B and G sharp, and also a high C sharp. There it is, C sharp. Those are just there to create little moments of movement and tension and some variation, but most of the melody evolve around my 3 home notes. It can be so simple, especially for some very plucky hooks. And to geek out a little bit on music theory, from a theory perspective, this is basically F sharp minor pentatonic plus 1 extra note. That's why it sounds so clean and hooky, and there are almost no ugly half-step clashes. So the phrase itself is just a 4-bar sentence. So we have bar number 1, number 2, number 3, and number 4. And the first 2 bars are my call. The next 2 bars are my response. So first the call, and then the response. So the recipe here is super simple. Pick 3 home notes and add 2 to 3 color notes. Then write a 4-bar call and response phrase and give yourself 1 big peak note, preferably in bar 3 or 4, that only happens once. So it's this tiny highlight detail, you could say. And if you copy that system in your own key, you get a lead that feels melodic and emotional enough for melodic techno, but still clean and easy to remember. So it has this progressive vibe. And now that the hook is there, let's build the engine underneath it. Kick, bass, and groove. All right, we have our lead. So now that we got the lead idea, we need an engine underneath it that actually works in a club. We're in electronic music after all. So for melodic techno, the engine of the drop is basically three things: a solid kick, a clean sub, and a rolling mid bass that grooves with the lead. For the kick, I'm just using a sample. So next up is the sub bass. I'm using a preset again, and it's just a simple sine style low end with a short envelope. And the notes are super boring on purpose. So we're only using the root note F sharp, and they just follow the root movement of the track and use a very simple but a very common melodic techno pattern. It's a very powerful drive, so no fancy rundowns here, it's just there to glue the drop to the floor. So when you have a look at the envelope section, so envelope wise, I keep the attack really short decay and not too much release. So it punches with the kick instead of smearing underneath it. So you can already hear it. I put up a sidechain, or more accurate would be to say I'm using some ducking with La Filter sidechain. It's a stock plugin in FL Studio. You can use it to put up this sidechain. You could also use Kickstart. I personally prefer Kickstart just because I'm damn lazy sometimes. But a very good option if you don't own Kickstart is Fruity La Filter sidechain. It's on the bass bus, so both bass lines, and we'll get to the mid bass in a second, go through this sidechain. So we make even more space for the kick, because the kick above all else. This is always the non-negotiable #1 rule. On top of the sub, I add a mid bass layer. Again, just a preset with a bit of character and some harmonics, so you can still hear the bass on smaller speakers. That's always the case with mid bass. It's following the same pattern. So before we add anything else, I do a super quick cleanup. So I'm adding some saturation with blood overdrive on the sub and also on the mid bass. And very important also for the mid bass is that I EQ it, because we have our sub bass for the low end and the mid bass is just to make the bass more hearable. So it's happening especially in the mid frequencies. So if the track already feels like it wants to move at the stage, you're in a very good place. This is our main energy driver here: the kick, the sub bass, the mid bass. Right now we have a very solid engine and a clear lead, but it still sounds a bit dry. More like a loop than like a real melodic techno drop, right? So in this step we are going to add three things: background atmosphere, a few FX sounds, and some automations. So first I like to put a very subtle atmosphere bed behind everything. That can be a noise texture, a distant pad, or some field recording. So for this one I'm using a pack in Flex. It's an FL Studio stock plugin and it's just playing a very simple chord over 4 bars. I'm not trying to add a new melody here. It's more like a fog layer that glues the whole drop together and gives it a bit of dystopian melodic techno vibe. So and this also means I high pass it very aggressively. I don't want the low end here. And I keep it very, very, very quiet. This means you shouldn't miss it when it's off, but not really notice it when it's on. And now let's A/B with this Atmo pad on with the other sounds that we have and listen carefully. So I'm turning it on and off. subtle, but it makes the drop feel like it lives in an actual space instead of inside a dry studio, right? Next up are a few FX sounds. And I'm keeping this also very minimal. So I have a short impact on the first hit. Also after 8 bars. And then I also have an impact riser that leads into the middle of the phrase. So the idea is to highlight the chapters inside the drop, you could say. So the last part, and probably the most important, is movement with automations. So with the exact same notes and sounds that we already have, we can make the drop feel like it's going somewhere over the 8 to 16 bars here. So I'm adding 2 things. And the one thing that I would like to automate is the cutoff in the filter. So I'm creating an automation clip for it. So as you can see, I open the filter on the lead a bit more. And I also automate the filter cutoff on our mid bass. You can see it right here. It also opens up slightly at the end of the bar to increase tension and introduce the next section. Then last but not least, I'm also adding some hats just to complete the drop. And as you can see, we have our first part and we have our second part. And in the second part, this is where everything is fully open. Lead layers with the added hats, small automations. You can also make a small automation on the send of the reverb. So you don't need 10 automation lanes. 2 or 3 well-drawn curves are more than enough to make the drop feel alive. So let me A/B this real quick. We did a lot of things. So first you hear the raw engine. So our mid bass, our sub bass, our kick and our lead, without anything else. And now with the Atmosphere XF and automation on top, Alright, so same notes, same sounds, but it suddenly feels like a real melodic techno drop with a clear 8-bar story arc. So in this last step, I'm just doing some super quick polish. First thing is just level balance. You see it in the mixer right here. For this kind of melodic techno drop, I want 3 things. Number 1, the kick should clearly be the loudest thing. So if your kick disappears, the whole drop collapses. Number 2, the sub and mid bass should sit right under the kick and you should feel the weight, but they shouldn't mask the attack on the kick. This is why we sidechained. Number 3, the lead sits on top of that. So if the lead is way louder than the kick and bass, it starts to sound like a pop record instead of a club track. So always make sure that you're balancing the volumes right. But I'm keeping every instrument at least -6 dB to have some headroom later. And some instruments maybe even lower. So like when the lead appears too loud, just turn it down even more. And when we're talking about polishing the whole thing, of course, we are EQing the lead sound. So we're cutting off all the low end frequency. We don't need them and we don't want them. I already showed you the EQ on the mid bass. Of course, the rolling head and the open head are also EQ'd And that's really all you need to get from a blank project to a melodic techno drop that already feels like a finished idea. And you will find the stamps and project file linked down below as a free download. So you can dig through this, swap the sounds, or rebuild it in your own DAW. If you want to go deeper on the polishing part and making your mix even cleaner, check out my last video. There I'm showing you 7 tools that I actually use for a cleaner mix. If this was helpful, let me know in the comments, and if you have some questions. And if you liked this video, please give thumbs up and subscribe to this channel. It helps a lot to grow and make even more music production content like this. Till then, have an amazing day or night and see you soon.